Hey guys, welcome to episode 15 of the Blockchain Bandits podcast. You're here with me, Jeff.
Myself, Courtney.
And me, Andy.
And today we'll be talking about the cryptocurrency markets, how they've been over the past week. We'll be talking about Coinbase releasing their new e-commerce platform. We'll also be talking about American Express and Santander teaming up with Ripple. The UK banning, basically expanding what we spoke about last week with the UK banning cryptocurrencies with credit. And then we'll be touching on the first African cryptocurrency exchange and be going into detail about that too. But first off, we want to just let you guys know, before a little disclaimer at the beginning, none of this is financial advice. Go and do your own research. This is all just our opinions and views. And yeah. Also,
Wait, hold on a second. So, I just want to throw out another little disclaimer. So, this is Courtney, by the way, guys. I'm not a womanizer. Yeah, I was actually ill. I was on death's bed. I was in hospital.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, I'm so sorry, I couldn't make it.
Yeah, cool, sure. Anyway, that was a complete lie. I'd like to add another disclaimer. Everything that Courtney has just said is a lie. Anyway, he is a womanizer, and we all know it. Anyway, back to the subject at hand. Cryptocurrency markets have started to bounce up a bit over the last week. We've been seeing some bullish action. Last week we did mention that the short term looked bullish, and obviously long term overall looked it was still bearish because we need some confirmation. I think that still stands this week.
Yeah.
It's not enough bullish pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But like we said, in the short term it was bullish, and we'll see how it goes. But with these, it seems a lot more stable, which is a good thing, I suppose. It's not just shooting up or shooting down. People being a bit more careful, which is good. But yeah, it's at a decent level in terms of if you wanted it to go bullish long term, this is the place for it to start, and it's looking decent, it's looking healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that we're hopefully out of the period of people just selling, because you have your points where you say to yourself, I'm going to start this at this level, and people just getting pushed out of the market in that way. I think we're over that potentially, and we're kind of going back into the era of stability, which is good for the market. I think a lot of people were actually getting scared anyway by the volatility. A lot of people were actually saying, I'm getting out and taking my losses. So I think hopefully, I do say hopefully, that we're kind of over that. Would you say, Andy, on that?
Yeah, we broke the whole resistance we wanted to. We got out of the bearish channel. We were inside, and basically the channel of where the bear trend was going towards has become this new support.
This is on the Bitcoin.
On Bitcoin, in particular, yeah. In terms of Bitcoin, it's like there's a lot of resistance now at around the 10k region.
Which is to be expected.
Exactly. Everyone knows. We know that these big numbers like that, your 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, like people like to sell off at round numbers, basically. But the mark we would really like to see is it break the 61% fib mark. But yes, so for now, I guess it's expected resistance. I think the best thing for the whole market maybe would just be to just a bit of sideways action. Exactly. And just let the market find its feet, a bit more confidence, a bit more stability, which is hard to call for in the cryptocurrency market. But yeah, it's kind of like we were saying yesterday, last week. Sorry, it's still a bit bullish short term. It's way too soon to say how it's looking long term.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, last time it came down to 10,000 after going past the last few times. It ranged for a bit, so it moved sideways for a bit. So you can kind of expect it to do the same thing and retest the 10,000, because it broke through 10,000, then came down, retested it, bounced off. Right now, it's still above 10,000, and we'll see if it holds up. If it holds up for a significant amount of time, I think the bulls will get a bit more confident. They'll
Yeah.
believe that, you know what, it's not going to go below 10,000, or there's a good chance it won't go below 10,000, and maybe start placing some buy orders, and we'll see the market go up a bit. But you know, who knows? We'll see what happens. I made a video doing my technical analysis like prior to this, during the crash or just before the crash, or I think it was during, and I was just looking for opportunities. I mentioned in the video that 9K was my spot to get in at. It went well below 9K after that, but I still held on because you know, I believed in my analysis. I had my exit strategy, and I believed that, you know, if price would have had to have got a lot lower for me to you know, decide, you know what, I'm out. But yeah, no, it's right now obviously it's in profit, and we'll just see how it goes. So yeah, and it's the same across the board, I suppose. Even with Ethereum, right now it's at $941. Still has some strong resistance ahead of it, a strong fib level. We'll see if it can break that 50% fib and go up. There's a lot of resistance there, but yeah, short term bullish, you know, with a lot to get through. So yeah, same thing with Ethereum really. Litecoin had a great week.
Yeah, it really did.
It surged up. It broke some strong resistance levels, 2 major resistance levels, 2 fibs, in fact. Still got one other major one to go, but it's recovered a lot. Like, it's almost recovered. Obviously, it's heading towards a 50% retracement, so that means it's recovering like 50% since the drop. And it's doing well. Like, you know, people are putting their money back in the space, and you know, maybe they're looking long term, maybe they're not. Maybe they saw the same things that we saw, that it would look bullish short term, and you know what, let's just make a quick buck, let it rise up for a bit, and then we'll jump back out.
Yeah,
so
and I'll tell you what, like, obviously with the top 5, they've done the best in the top 5, and you, like, again, that's with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, and Litecoin.
Yeah, and
it's only potentially could get better.
Yeah,
with what Coinbase are gonna pull out now, isn't it?
Exactly, the e-commerce thing that we mentioned earlier, actually. So yeah, Coinbase are making this e-commerce thing, which will allow merchants, you know, your online stores and stuff like that, to be able to sell and make, you know, do business with cryptocurrencies so much easier than they could before. Like, you go onto, let's say, for example, eBay. They use PayPal at the moment. So say you were a seller on eBay and you were receiving your money, you could receive in cryptocurrencies just as easily as you would make a payment through PayPal with this new platform that Coinbase have made. And obviously, as we know, Coinbase, they deal with the big 5. Well, not Ripple, but they deal with the big major coins that have been surging up. So maybe that was the cause. You know, people are looking at that going, yeah, well, now this is the case. You know, maybe we'll be able to, more people will be invested in it because you can actually use it for online stores. Transaction times and stuff play into it, but with Litecoin and that, depending on how the networks are looking, transactions could be pretty quick. So maybe that's why Litecoin went up so fast, because if I was a merchant and I wanted to receive cryptocurrencies, I would head for Litecoin, to be honest. Exactly. So, you know, but yeah, more on this Coinbase merchants platform. Andy, I think yours.
Yeah, like basically it's just come out recently, but the best way I can describe it to people listening is it's kind of like PayPal. They've basically allowed people to use their cryptocurrencies and allow other commerce sites which allow currency. So obviously they need to be opt into it to receive it, and you just send your payments directly to the merchant, and it's completely it doesn't exactly go through Coinbase. It's not their wallet is not on Coinbase. Yeah. They own it. Yeah. Which is, again, it's a good thing. It's a great service. It
makes it more stable.
Yeah, and it's a really good move from Coinbase, because again, their UI is the
Great,
best.
yeah.
It is one of the best, and we always say it's really good for new people getting into it. And you can see that they've really thought about it. This was their big next thing. They've actually teamed up with Shopify, which is the largest multi-channel commerce platform. And so many people use Shopify. Yeah. So the fact that that's a feature
on
now,
Shopify.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you could be you can have go to a little shop online, and they might allow crypto payments.
Exactly. Even if they use it as a gimmick, because
Yeah.
they could do. It's there, and people will use. People will use it, and it will drive the value. Well, it should drive value up because more people will be buying cryptos, and if it turns out that it's much easier for them, especially people who are already in the crypto space and have crypto coins, and there's a lot of people that just use them, for various things. They either donate cryptocurrencies to their favorite YouTube channel, hint hint, or they they purchase things here and there using cryptos. Those are the types of people that are going to use it first, and then everyone else is going to follow on. And even if no one uses it, it raises the profile of cryptocurrencies and makes them more trustworthy. Because say your mum or your auntie or your uncle or dad go onto online store and they want to buy something, and then they see the Bitcoin symbol there as an option, they'll go, people are using this now. Oh, okay, yeah.
Jeffrey has a few Bitcoin, doesn't he? You could buy your mum a dresser or something.
Yeah.
Start shopping with it. I think I think right now we're in a phase, I'll call it the adoption phase again of cryptos, but using cryptos for different types of transactions. Whilst we've been getting so much bad news, and as we would mention in previous podcasts, all the bad news comes at the same time. We seem to be going through now the phase of all the good news coming at the same time, and it being mainly around the adoption and use cases for cryptocurrencies, and I think Coinbase is playing a part in that. I think even our next topic, in terms of talking about American Express, Santander actually teaming up together and working with Ripple. We know Ripple is actually backed by the banks anyway, so it's kind of something that we could see happening in general in the space. But the aim of it all is to actually reduce costs and actually increase speed of transactions across the borders between the US and the UK. Now, you can already say, that this is not just going to be limited, in future just to US and UK. It's going to be across the board. But that's so big. Like, that is such a big kind of statement to kind of make. Santander is quite a big bank. It's got its roots in Spain, and then again across to the UK, and then to have American Express, on the same page there. This is major.
Yeah, it is. They're making big moves. And it makes sense. Like, the first thing I said when I heard about this to the guys was, it just makes sense. Like, if you are involved in, transacting across the world, and it takes time, it costs a lot of money for you, there's an alternative which is literally instant and is virtually costs nothing compared to what you're paying. Why wouldn't you use it? And that's what's happening. The difference is that before this news, if we said this to someone, they would have been like, no, why would they use it? And now it's happening.
Exactly.
You see, and that's how, sometimes we have to kind of, I know it's a huge risk and stuff, this is a risky market, but you have to kind of just look at things, step back and look at things in a logical way, and don't get emotional, don't let fear get in the way, don't let doubt get in the way, because either way, like, maybe if you look at it in a logical way, with certain circumstances, you will understand certain cryptocurrencies are just rubbish, and obviously, as someone who wasn't the biggest fan of Ripple because it's a bank coin, I could easily just be like, oh, boo, blah, blah, blah. But it just makes sense to me why they're doing this. So, and I can't argue with it.
Exactly. Well, it just goes back to the whole fact that we've said it time and again, like, 2018 is going to be the year where cryptocurrencies are going to go mainstream.
Yeah.
Like, again, with what Santander and Halifax, American Express are doing with Ripple.
Yeah.
like shows that. And so again, like what Coinbase are doing with their commerce thing, it shows that. Like they are going into the mainstream with a bang. Like again, what Coinbase were doing, we were talking about it last week, how they're introducing their Lightning network, which is again cheaper fees, quicker transactions. What the banks are doing now with Ripple, quick smaller fees, quicker transactions. It's just, we've said this for months now. Like the reason why we are in this is because of technology.
Exactly.
I think just to put it in perspective, like the transactions that used to take days are actually completed in real time. Now you want to be doing business between company A, company B. You need your transactions to occur instantly. You don't really want it to be like days on end. But one key factor of that is that you want security, and that's what the blockchain produces.
It allows you to be secure and fast at the same time, which is and connected to people across the globe. And like Andy was saying, we've been saying that the market of the world is thirsty for something like this. It wants quick fee, like low fee transactions, and that's what it's getting with like the Lightning network and as you can see, if you put all of these things into place, you can see a world building where all of this is integrated. So, for example, you have cross-border payments that are secure. Then you have merchant payments that are secure and fast with low fees. So for example, the Bitcoin had high fees and stuff and was slow, but now you have a merchant, you can open a merchant channel with the Lightning network and be able to have quick transactions for like a fraction of the fee using Bitcoin, and it's great. And the technology will develop further, and this is why we always make a point to highlight that you need to take note of the technology. You need to take note of where it's going, and that should be the main focus. Price, of course, it's fun to talk about price sometimes, but it gets in the way sometimes of seeing things logically, because you start seeing a low price and then all of a sudden all the other factors, all the technological factors, all those things that got you into it disappear. Oh, it's a low price now, so it's rubbish. Price is not an indicator of value. Price alone is not an indicator of value. Sometimes you need to look past price and see the value behind it, because price can be manipulated. Price can be manipulated, and it can be, used to skew people's vision, and which is what it has done. Get people at the market because the price is low, then buy up the coins and have that value for a low cost. So yeah, that's basically how it's been. And the world becoming more like connected in that sense will help us further so much more, more than just payments and things like that. There's so many industries that are going to benefit from this. There's going to be so much economic growth, and the possibilities are endless. But at the end of the day, some people are going to lose out, and that's why things are, certain companies and industries will try and stifle it, and you hear all that FUD and people chatting rubbish about cryptocurrencies, and like we spoke about last week, the UK banning cryptocurrencies with credit, which isn't necessarily something against crypto, and there is logic behind that, and I do agree that is something that needs to happen. But the fact that you can still use it for gambling and other things, useless rubbish things that will get you in more debt, you got to kind of question that.
I agree, but I think it's just going to be subjective to the industry, the companies around it. Some companies are going to take on use cases and utilize cryptos in such a positive way and say to themselves, we're going to benefit. And it's not a case of we just have to benefit in that we're going to back Bitcoin. It's we're going to benefit because of technology that the blockchain gives. That's the key thing for businesses, really. We'll come back onto the point of banks and stuff banning cryptos and with credit and stuff like that, and we've got a number of banks that have either banned it or allowed it. So we've got like Lloyd's Bank, and they've banned it. Barclays, thumbs up, they've allowed it. We've got Royal Bank of Scotland, who have allowed it. TSB, allowed it. Virgin Money have banned it. NatWest have allowed it. Santander have allowed it. Come on, it's all the above, right? HSBC have allowed it. Capital One banned it. And that's it. But it's like, I think in the shape of things, it's dependent on what these banks will see from the crypto space. Some will see it as being risky, not safe because it's not regulated, those types of things. And other people will say, we can see where the technology is going, what it can do for us, like Santander, for instance. And we can see where it's going, so we'll back it until we're given like a good reason why we shouldn't. In terms of if it's really negatively impacting our customers, or there's actual real fact saying we should not back this. And I think that's what we really need. Like, the whole point of us saying what we say and do what we do is actually to decrease the space. And I think with them allowing it is decreasing the space, banning it, it's subjective, because as we said before, with credit and everything else, it's most likely not the best thing. But I think it's a really key time right now, and I think we're kind of just coming out of the depression, if I'm honest, and we're starting to see the positive side of things. There's still a bit of FUD there, but it's more about being positive now, and I think that's just the phase that we're in.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like a phase. It happens in phases. It happens in cycles. Happens every year. Cryptocurrencies crash around the same type of year. Then around Chinese New Year, like coming up to Chinese New Year. Then afterwards, it starts to pick up again. It's just one of those things. You just got to ride it out and be logical about it. It's just funny when you see people getting scared. People who were saying it's the greatest thing, months before, all of a sudden they're out. They're like, no, I'm out. What happened to all that stuff you said before? Like, what happened to all your faith before? Like, is your faith only in what the chart tells you the price is? Obviously the price, you've got to have a limit, and fair enough to people who have had their limit and said, this is where, if they had a predetermined price point where they said, if price gets to here, I'm out, then that's respectable. But if you just jumped out because you saw it fall in, you heard all this stuff in the news, didn't think about anything else except for, I need to get out, then, that's kind of upsetting, because I know that for a fact there's people who probably sold for a loss who'd probably be in profit again once more. But yeah, that always ties into everything that we say before, and moving on to our next subject. The Canadian Stock Exchange has actually launched a fully regulated, or planning on launching a fully regulated cryptocurrency. Basically, the Canadian Securities Exchange, the CSE, announced that they will soon launch a securities clearing and settlement platform based on the Ethereum blockchain. So basically, it will just allow companies to launch their ICOs with their own token. It will be a fully regulated token by the SEC, and it will basically regulate the whole ICO space as a whole, because then everybody comes through them to launch an ICO, and they can see how everything's going and if everything's going according to their rules. I kind of still don't know how I feel about this, because ICOs have been terrible. Like, there have been some terrible ICOs out there, and there have been some great ones as well that have a great future out there and are going to basically change the world and the way we interact with each other and interact with the world. But like I always say, 95% of ICOs are rubbish, basically. And so to have a filter like what the CSC is doing may be beneficial, but too much regulation, too many tight rules can kind of stifle growth, and depending on the rules. But what this is doing, what the main point for this is, that it's setting a precedent, it's setting the stage, it's setting a sort of template for other regulatory bodies, other exchanges, and other financial institutions, and they're going to learn from this, and they're going to see what things are the CSE doing that we want to do, what things do we not want to do. So it's something to keep an eye on, because it could set a precedent for how things are in the future for the whole cryptocurrency space.
I'd like to just think of it as like maybe one positive, one negative quickly. So I would say on the negative side first, we start with negatives and we can brighten up the day afterwards. Centralization. I think it would be frowned upon in the space just because of centralization. But we know that, or we knew that this would always, come to pass, that there will be some sort of regulation. And I think this is maybe not the way we necessarily saw it being, but then again, see how it goes. See if it works. It could work. It could be really good for the space. It could be really good for everything that's happening over in Canada. So let's see what happens there. But then the positive, really and truly, is that it will stop pump and dumps. It will stop a lot of these people popping up out of nowhere and actually going, oh yeah, buy into this, and then you buy into it, and the next minute you lose all your money. So I think that is good. And again, regulation in general, it stops crime and anything else in space that people believes there or believes occurring. So I think it's good in that way. But it'd be really good to see how this develops and kind of what comes from it.
Yeah, I think it's a positive thing in terms of protecting the investors, because I mean that's their role, that's their job, and if they are telling potential ICO creators to go through their regulatory system and have to buy their coin. Then, in my opinion, okay, fair enough. But it's a bit extreme. But if they want, because it's so new, this whole space, people are trying different things. The governments are trying different things. And again, we're going to talk about what the American, what's it called, the CFTC are going to be doing in a moment. But it's interesting to see how different world governments are approaching the ICO boom and how they're approaching not just protecting their customers, it's tax as well, and it's getting the fraudsters, and it's they're slowly, because 2017 again was the moment where a lot of governments and banks were like, let's see what happens, let's just watch this beast, what it becomes, because they kept saying again we've been reading different articles, watching interviews of what a lot of big heads have been saying, and they've said it's too soon to say. It's too soon to say. 2018 is the year where they are starting to make moves, so it will be interesting to see how this evolves. Personally, it depends on for me. It depends on how they control this ICO. Really, this coin. What exact benefits it brings, what it's going to hold back on, because a lot of people basically maybe inventors or creators or just people who want to make ICOs, they could see it that maybe Canada's just not the best place to start ICO, and it could go elsewhere. So we'll see. It really depends on what this coin is offering.
I agree, but yeah, more on regulation and control. The CFTC have actually put out kind of like a wanted poster sort of thing for pump and dump groups. So what they're doing is they're offering how much are they offering again?
10% to 30% if it's more than 1 million.
Oh yeah, basically for people who basically blow the whistle on pump and dump groups. So if there's a pump and dump group that's making like 1 million or something like that, and you know who's behind it, and then you let the CFTC know, they'll give you like 30% of that or 10%. And that's what they're doing. They're getting serious on these pump and dump groups, because that had to happen. You can't just run a pump and dump group and just because it's unregulated and think that it's just going to be like that forever. I'm sure some of them knew. Some people might have only done it once and jumped out, but they're going to start clamping hard on these guys. They've brought out a document, talking about how they're going to clamp down on these guys. They're going to catch them all, and they're serious.
This reminds me of those kind of traffic kind of warnings that they used to put out, because they realized there's so much traffic incidents that people are dying all the time crossing the road, and it was manic. You cross the road and you're dead, and it's not a nice experience. and they, the government had to stop it or reduce the amount of traffic accidents in people crossing the road. So you had like all those different advertisements, commercials, and the rest of it, the hedgehog crossing the road, etc. It's that they're putting this out for people to kind of be aware that this happens, a bit like Crime Watch as well, and if you do tell us, we're going to benefit you in some shape or form. It's good, I guess. It's a case of reducing, quote unquote, people just losing all their money. And I'm for it, because I think people losing their money means people coming out of space, not wanting to know about the technology, not wanting to know about anything to do with blockchain. And if people feeling it's more safe because most ICOs aren't pump and dumps, then all the better, right? So I think it's interesting. Funny enough, they actually do talk a lot about like what you should and shouldn't do, and it kind of just sounds like us. I can't lie. Like stuff like you shouldn't just go and listen to one tip, or you shouldn't listen to some random person on social media just going, oh yeah, you can definitely get some money here. You put in 10p and you earn $1 million in a minute. Like kind of common sense, but there are people that kind of just follow these things because they think, oh man, I need to make money now. Jerry down the road, invested in Bitcoin like 2 years ago and he's a millionaire now. I need to be on that wave too. Like, how do I do it? And get confused and think these advertisements that pop up all over the place lead to like, richness and, being totally like lucrative, but not necessarily, so yeah, again, as I say, kind of sounds like us. Obviously we didn't write it ourselves, but it's a lot of the advice that we've been giving, so you should check it out, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, it's written by the US Commodities Futures Trading Commission, so like they're a bit of a big deal, and like they've been, again, it's like on this PDF they've released, it says old scam, new technology. And it's exactly right.
It's
People
true.
have been doing this for like decades, like maybe even longer, since there've been markets, really. Like penny stocks was probably the last,
most recent,
even IPOs, like but yeah, penny stocks are for the people who don't really know what we're talking about here, like your blue chips, is if you've watched The Wolf of Wall Street, when he starts selling penny stocks, and he's selling penny stocks for like 7 cents a stock, right? And he's telling people on the phone that if it goes up like a few pence, you've made like 40% of your blah blah blah, but it's a complete risk, and it's highly volatile, these stocks, and cryptos are pretty similar. Well, some are, some aren't. It depends. You do your research, which is what we say. But basically, this article kind of talks about that. Talks about basically people are just moving into the cryptocurrency market because they can see it's highly volatile, and a lot of people can make a lot of money, and a lot of greed is involved. So basically, it's just an article saying that if you blow the whistle, also basically if you snitch, we will give you money if the whole thing leads to £1 million worth or more, dollars or more. And you can get up to 10% to 30%, which is, I guess, if you have knowledge that pump and dump groups are going on, which again we aren't, and we made sure we were never gonna do a ticker stuff. We've actually been told to do it. It's suggested that we can do it, and we say God no, because they're scams, and we've said that from day one.
Do you know what's funny, actually? You mentioned Wolf of Wall Street. And Jordan Belfort was basically the main guy of Wall Street. He was the guy that was running these scam operations. He's turning around telling people that Bitcoin's a scam. And people are actually taking it on board. Why would you listen to him? He's gone to prison for doing fraud. Clearly, if I was going to go to anyone for financial tips or anything, I wouldn't go to him. Anything he tell you would be something that would benefit him. And I was thinking maybe he's just saying this so that price goes down, and then he gets cheap.
I think he was an advisor for the FBI, but it still doesn't mean he can't profit off it.
Exactly.
And the whole fact that because the way it's just the way he is. Like he thinks that money can be made, but it's true.
Yeah.
Money, like people can easily make pump and dumps like off cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And maybe you're saying it's that, but don't say the whole thing's a scam.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, shut up, man.
He targeted Bitcoin in particular, the most decentralized one.
Yeah.
Well, that's debatable actually, but still, it's he targeted Bitcoin alone, and I don't know, that just, when people just focus on Bitcoin alone, I know they're real fudsters, and I know that they're real, they don't actually know what they're talking about, because it's obviously it's much wider than just Bitcoin, and if you're just going to focus on that, then it just shows me the limit of your knowledge.
Yeah, especially when it was obvious, and it's like the most money is in Bitcoin, so you spread FUD about Bitcoin because that's where the money's at. It's get the money. But anyway, like I think get the money. But I think in terms of why they might listen to him, I just think it's because people will look at him and think you have experience of ripping everyone off, so you most likely would understand where somebody will get ripped off. But I think that's subjective. I think as we always like to say, just make sure you do your research and kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Anything in life can actually be a rip-off. It's just as simple as that. A quick little analogy is that you can go into the local shop and they could be selling you something for £3 that it's not £3, like a bottle of water. Are you gonna buy it? Are you going to think to yourself, well, I actually know that I can go and get this for 50p, so I'll go and get it for 50p or less? Or are you going to buy it on £3? You're getting it. It's a matter of necessity. It's a matter of whether or not, that's what you want to do, your research, the company behind that water. So many things come into that decision you make. Because I'm not going to lie to you, some people pay £3 for a bottle of water. So are they stupid? It's subjective. It's like, just do your research and know what's good for you. That's all you have to do. It's not that hard. Take into consideration what he's got to say, what we've got to say, what government bodies have to say, what everybody else has to say in the world, and just make a good judgment for yourself.
Yeah, that's the best way to go around anything, really. But, yeah, moving on to our next subject, actually, one that I'm kind of excited to talk about, is Africa's first Bitcoin exchange. Apparently they're targeting 1 billion users by next year, is it? Or
2025.
2025. Which is a huge claim, but I think it's very possible because they have targeted the mobile phone users, and which is like there's millions of mobile phone users, smartphone users in Africa, and Africa's a hotspot for international payments, and anyone that has like family over there or anything knows that the prices like to transfer money through something like Western Union is just crazy. Like it costs a lot of money. Basically, it takes a huge chunk out of the money that you want to send, and if you can do that and only pay a fraction of the price, and it's literally instant, and they've got it, and they can confirm to you they've got it through their phone and be like, oh yeah, it's on my phone, I just got it, and send you back a message, and it makes life a lot easier, and also it can help business over there as well. I mentioned loads of times that I felt like blockchain technology could help Africa a lot, and this is one of the things that it could help it with, I believe.
Yeah, so I agree. I think the company's been around since about 2013, and in its time, it's just trying to be basically build up its growth in the space. It's based now in Singapore, I believe, and I think it's just trying to get closer to the markets when it comes to cryptocurrencies by doing so. But its birth was pretty much in South Africa, and again, as Jeff said, that's kind of where the whole mobile kind of strength has come from. Big guns, and it's kind of expanding, and now it's been there for a while, so you can see that there's a bit of groundwork already made, and the fact that it just wants to grow in this space. And to be honest with you, well, I guess maybe because we're not in the countries that it might be targeting, but it doesn't seem like they're overly marketing this kind of exchange or anything like that. It seems like they're quite humble in a sense, and they do talk about even like their kind of ethos in the offices and stuff, and it's quite chill. But one thing that they're really dead set against is security, which they take it so seriously, as if they were like a bank. So I think it's good signs.
Yeah, their CEO said that basically the whole idea that launched them. He said, we realized the banks were going to take too long to embrace the technology, and they were getting confused about what the technology can do. So they jumped on it and they did it. And I think that is key, because if you got someone who's got that vision, who can see holes and gaps in the market and fills them, can see a need and provides the service for that need, you can only see something like this expanding, because obviously he has the vision and has the focus and has a belief in the technology as well. So it's not going to be like there's a lot of ICO companies, blockchain companies, where the CEO is jumping from company to company, and then the whole company doesn't have a direction. You can tell that this guy's passionate about what he wants to do. Like Courtney said, they've moved to Singapore, so they've moved to Asia, which is obviously the hotspot for blockchain tech and cryptocurrencies. And so you can see this expanding, and it's going to benefit Africa. And I think blockchain technology will start to grow more in Africa. I think people will look at these guys and be like, hey, like, they started in Africa, maybe we should start something in Africa. They did it with some great success, so we'll do it too. And then, it will go from there.
Yeah, like they've had amazing success so far. Like they've had 1.5 million customers already in 40 countries. And again, as you guys mentioned, that like they put a lot of their reasons for it is mobile use.
Yeah.
And again, like Africa, like a lot of people, maybe our listeners might know or might not know, but yeah, like the internet use is used all over Africa, like and especially mobile internet, like so that's their target. And like, apparently it says here in this article that like a lot of their success was due to like South Africa and Nigeria in particular, which are, again, in the next 20 years, anyone who knows about geopolitics, like these are growing countries. I think he's like the whole exchange itself looks very attractive. UI looks really nice. So first them aiming for $1 billion before 2025. Like to be fair, I hope so. Like they seem to like cover all the good bases in terms of security as well, which is something important, especially for exchanges. But yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think we mentioned the name, but it's Lunar, the name of the exchange, lunar.com. You can check it out if you want to. And yeah, the interface seems simple and stuff, and these guys, like I said, they're focusing on growing populations and helping those people out there. And they're looking to scale themselves. They only have like 70 employees at the moment, and they've done so well, and they're planning to scale that up to 300. So you can tell they've already got plans to improve and provide other services. Who knows, maybe they'll come up with their own merchant service as well to rival Coinbase's. And that's what you need. You need more competition, because then it refines the quality of the products that we get as consumers. Yeah, that can only be a good thing, and the space will grow. And so really, from everything that's been coming out this past week, the cryptocurrency space, the blockchain space rather, is doing very, very well. And like we said last year, 2018 is the year for it to kick off. You like, if you're interested in this stuff, obviously if you're listening to this, you are, then it's going to be a good year. You're going to, even if you're not investing or anything, you're going to hear about all these new tech updates, these new technologies that are coming to improve our lives, the things that will be integrated into your home, into your everyday life. Maybe by the end of the year, you'll be using a blockchain based product every day, and you'll be thinking, how did I live without this? This is how technology grows. This is how the internet grew. Like, you can't look back and imagine a life without the internet. Everything would be so long, Imagine doing your uni coursework without the internet. You'd be in libraries all day just flicking through loads of books, and which is what our parents did and stuff. And obviously they got through it, but now things are easier for us. And that's how technology.
I think we take it for granted.
Yeah, we do take it for granted, and we will take this for granted when it all kicks off.
Exactly.
But let's try and appreciate it as it's growing now, and let's try not to stifle it too much, and let's not try to listen to too much of the negativities, but still remain safe and question everything. Question everything you come across, especially if you're about to invest. Definitely just question everything and look into everything. But yeah, I think that's it. That's everything we want to speak about this week.
Yep.
Courtney looks so relieved because now he can go on another date.
Guys, no.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna go read the Bible a bit, and
alright,
I've got gym. What I always would profess is that we should have a really good work-life balance. And as a child of God, we just spend our time just being good people.
Yeah.
It's Sunday. I hope you have a blessed one, guys. Look after yourselves. Be safe.
Yeah, that's Courtney lying again. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. I'll try and make sure that Courtney behaves himself and is here for the next podcast and not just, drunk and, he was drunk he's drunk right now.
No way. I'm totally fine, guys.
You don't seem fine.
I'm intelligible,
That's not a word.
That is a word. I'll Google it now, man.
See, you should be confident. Are you drunk or not? You should know whether it's a word or not.
He's losing composure.
See, I was just testing you there. But anyway, thanks for listening, guys. If you like this podcast, leave a like. If you disliked it, leave a dislike. And please let us know why you liked it and why you disliked it. Notice on the last podcast, 2 people disliked it, but they didn't tell us why. Okay?
Because Courtney wasn't in it, guys, right? Yeah.
I don't think that's what it was. Secretly, I think it was the fact that we were, hating on Cardano, but we will never know because the people don't want to let us know.
Intelligible is a word.
Yes, I was testing you, Courtney.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. See ya.
Take care, guys.
See you guys next week.